Hi, welcome to another episode of EMDR with Alice. So today we're going to talk about working with blocking beliefs. In some previous episodes, we talked about how to utilize a client's faith practice, specifically the Christian faith practice, with those clients who have given permission to use it in our preparation phases. And one of the things that I talked about in one of those episodes was beginning to look for and listen for blocking beliefs. So today we're going to talk about blocking beliefs. It's often you can pick up on blocking beliefs when you're doing history taking and even phase 2 resourcing with a client. Some examples of what you might find is as you're trying to help a client learn a new tool, maybe it's a somatic resource where they're beginning to kind of relax and feel calm and grounded in their body, but then they seem to get triggered by that. So that's an indicator to me that there must be a blocking belief that's already there in the networks that has gotten triggered. And that particular blocking belief might be something like, it's not safe to feel safe, or it's not safe to let my guard down or to relax, something along those lines. And so if you're working with the client in phase 2 and you're teaching them a resource and it seems like they're starting to kind of relax, but then all of a sudden get triggered in that, then that's an opportunity where you can explore and say, I wonder if, just be curious for a moment, does it feel like it's not safe to rest or it's not safe to feel safe? Can you just check in with yourself and see if that feels true somehow? And so that's a way where you can begin to explore blocking beliefs in the prep phases. So that's a common one that we'll see that will happen and we can pick up on in phase 2 with the client, especially when there's complex trauma. Another one we can pick up on is if you're working with the client and they are doers and they stay busy and they're anxious and they stay revved up or in hypervigilance. And as you're exploring with them, they might begin to, as you kind of talk about doing mindfulness or taking breaks through their day, and they just seem to not want to do that, or they have a reason they can't do that, then there might be a blocking belief in there that I have to feel anxious to stay motivated. Because there might be a belief in there, again, like it might be, I have to feel anxious to be motivated, or I have to be hypervigilant to stay safe. Or it could even be if I take a break or if I rest, I'm lazy. So there may be something in there that is, again, an indicator of a blocking belief that's stored in that network. And you can pick up on those just in your prep work when you're working with clients based on how they're responding to some of the tools that you're teaching them in that phase. Now, when we're working specifically with Christian clients, there's a couple of beliefs that you might hear just as they're describing kind of their faith or their spirituality, or that they feel kind of like they're in a slump or they don't feel like they're close to God. And some things that might come up as you're exploring that are beliefs like I'm not worthy of God's love, or I feel like God is punishing me. I hear that one a lot. And that, again, that's a blocking belief that's in their networks. Or it might be, I don't deserve healing is another one. And it won't be overt, but as you're exploring with a client, maybe blocks that are happening for them in doing resourcing or trying out some new tools and trying something new in their everyday life, that they then be some of these kind of things start to emerge as you're exploring that with them. Now, what do we do with blocking beliefs? If they emerge in phase 2, phases 1 and 2, then we can start working with it there, doing some just working and identifying cognitive distortions and starting to help them be kind of recognize that those are distortions and that they're lies that are stored in networks. And they have a history, right? They have a purpose. They come from a time in their life where either they were told that or they had to believe that based on their own developmental level that they were in, where that belief maybe was appropriate for them to believe at that stage of their life. Or again, it was told to them and it was kind of part of the culture that they grew up in. And so we begin exploring the history of that belief and how it would have felt true and how maybe it would have been useful for them at that time to believe that, or even how is it part of the trauma and a symptom of the trauma. So we start exploring that if it emerges and if we notice that in our phases 1 and 2 in our prep, so that when it comes up later on in reprocessing, we already have information that we've developed and added into our adaptive networks that we're then allowed to help that blocking belief kind of connect into, because we've done that in our prep. So we began exploring blocking beliefs, and we can listen for them again based on how the client's responding to resources that we're doing, or how are they responding to some of the information. Is it seem to be a block that's happening already in our prep phases around some of the things that we're working on with the client? If that's happening, it's an indication that there's a blocking belief in there, or multiple blocking beliefs. And we can begin as a clinician kind of fishing those out just with curiosity. Again, some of those common ones: it's not safe to feel safe, it's not safe to feel calm or let my guard down, or I have to stay anxious to stay motivated or to be successful. I have to stay in motion to get things done. If I rest, it means I'm lazy. I don't deserve healing. I'm being punished and I deserve punishment. God is punishing me. I'm not worthy of love. These are all ones that you can start listening for and being curious about in those prep phases. And then again, how do we handle that is we find where are those connected to in the networks? How are those part of trauma memories or part of their culture, or what's been told to them, or what they just believed based on what was happening at that time of their life in the developmental stage of their brain. So this is another episode of Alice Strickland Counseling. Thank you for joining us talking about blocking beliefs.